Let's finish off with the competitive one. So again, this is Kat's post from 6 Cents. And again, we're going to call out that we saw the post. So your comment on Kat's post talking about the GTM tech stack consolidation at your org caught my eye, observation. Then we're going deeper. I actually did a bit of research on your company and noticed that you're hiring an enterprise SDR. Notice that you're also using I put 6 Cents, ZoomInfo, and Qualified here, which I believe we can potentially consolidate, at least for certain use cases as you go up market. Then almost shifting the conversation a bit from consolidation, that is one value prop. But the other thing is that it's nearly impossible with these tools to find the actual person behind the intent. And then a little bit of like a cheeky comment there. And this goes back into making sure that you truly understand the problem that you're solving and how you differentiate from your competitors, and then calling that out. We can actually find the exact person behind the intent. And then here I actually spun it up a little bit and we ran social proof in the call to action with Notion's SDRs. So a few key takeaways here that we've learned over time as well, and I hope that those tactical examples were actually helpful for you all. Here's some guidance after you pull posts. So first of all, for ecosystem or thought leader plays, you want to find creators and thought leaders that post regularly on topics your org can solve. Obviously, the more engagement, the better. Brian Lemanda is a great one. Morgan J. Ingram, Jen Allen's another fantastic one. There's a ton of these different people, especially in sales, but you don't have to run this play just for sales teams. Like we have a lot of teams that have thought leaders in their space and maybe they don't have like as much engagement necessarily, but we typically recommend, in jumping down a little bit, that you can pull in posts with 50 plus engagements and you'll do a pretty good job there. Now, from competitive plays, I think 3 ideas here that we've seen work well. One is going to be employees of competitors with good engagement. So that's the example that I used with Kat. 2, competitors with large social followings, especially if there's a behemoth in your space. Like you have like Salesforce, HubSpot, you have companies like GitLab in the dev world. They have millions of followers. Like there's people in those posts that are 100% in your ICP. And if you have a good enough message and it's quick enough, you're going to be able to get to them and book those meetings at a higher, or at least have a way higher chance than if you go pure cold outbound. The last one that's kind of interesting as well is product launches. So if your competitors have posts, or this is even like from a CEO, they launch a product, the people in those engagements tend to be usually more like the actual buyers as opposed to, or employees, but we can filter out for those. So those also work quite well. And just know from like a statistics standpoint, like about 5 to 15% of engagements are actually going to be in your ICP. So something to think about there. 2 process tips. Obviously, we don't want to just run a play one-off. Like tactical advice is great, but what I'm thinking about is how do you build systems at scale? How do you make this work over time? So a few things that we've learned. 1, you want to pull in posts on a regular basis that meet your criteria and make this a habit at your company. You can actually get this down to less than 5 minutes per day. There's a ton of different, like, again, keyword searches, using Boolean operators to actually find those posts. Or, for example, just build the habit that if you're scrolling through LinkedIn anyways and you see a post that could be super relevant, pop that into Common Room or run a play manually if you can as well. And then the last thing that's super, super important here is going to be aligned messaging. You can't have the same messaging for competitive plays, for thought leader plays, and then obviously what the actual content of the post is matters a lot in what the messaging is. You want to get as hyper-specific as possible, and you can actually run and build out these different segments and plays in Common Room, and that's how we do it, where each single play has a different sequence.
Hey, Florin, do you want to maybe quickly, sorry to interject, this is great. Do you want to go back to Common Room and maybe just show how that integration between segments and sequences, or segments and cadences, works from Common Room itself?
Yeah, 100%. So here in the segments tab, you can see that we have a bunch of different segments built out, website visits. We have the competitive social plays, the ecosystem plays here that I just demoed. So one thing that's super interesting at the action layer, what you can do, let's say you select, everybody that engaged with Brian, and I'll just use the 6th Sense example. I'm really picking on 6th Sense today. I'm sorry, guys. But it's all love. So here, let's say I have 51 people that use 6th Sense and engage with Brian's post. What I can do here is select all of these people and actually push them directly into a sequence. And then here I can select the actual sequence, and we can even create AI message snippets for every single person. And we're actually going to host another session talking about prompts and how to build good messaging here. You could also fully automate this, where we can build workflows that if somebody meets a certain criteria in a segment or play, instead of the SDR or the rep pushing them into a sequence, we can do that automatically. There's obviously a lot to Common Room, but yeah, thanks, Matson. I think it was important to be able to call out how do you actually action the leads that you have here and make sure that you're reaching out to them. A bonus key takeaway, and I've touched on this, but stacking signals. So you want to be able to build plays with prospects that have social engagement on posts, but also, started a free trial if you have a PLG motion, visited high intent pages on your website. So pages like your pricing page, the demo page, terms and service, case studies, for example, or your success stories. Signals around like recently changing jobs. So someone that interacted with Kat and also recently changed jobs is probably a little bit higher up in the totem pole of prioritization, and we have a specific play that runs for that. Hiring roles, we already talked about that a little bit. I twisted that into the messaging. And then obviously having a specific tech stack that you could either replace or is complementary, I think are really good ways to stack socially engaged signals.